This is what you strive for, what you sent for. I wanna go where no eyes never seen, no ears never heard, no mind can imagine. Paradise, no more tests, no more tears, no more trials. Paradise, just to hold my mother in my arms. Paradise, where I'll gaze into my children's eyes. Paradise, gardens beneath where rivers will flow. Paradise, where nothing will hurt anymore. Won't hurt anymore.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Hello, ladies. Welcome back to another episode of Sunday Morning Coffee with Friends. How is everyone?
Alhamdulillah.
Very nice. Everyone looks lovely.
Thank you.
We're just your reflection.
Thank you. Let's open up with some dua. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Thank you again. Khalila, go ahead and take it away. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear
I
you.
can hear you. I was
Okay.
just a little frozen.
I felt like I was a little low. I was like, go ahead and take it away.
Actually, you know what? I think Khalila's screen is frozen. It looks like she's frozen.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, she's
So
frozen. Oh, she's frozen.
that
Oh,
is okay.
yeah, even backstage, she's frozen.
Um,
Well, while Khalila works out some of the StreamYard issues that we were not having this morning, but alhamdulillah ala kulli hal. Welcome back, ladies, again to another episode of Sunday Morning Coffee with Friends. We are very, very excited to be here today. Okay, she just jumped off. Hopefully she'll be joining us right back. So quick announcements. This is usually what Khalila does, but I'll try to have that same energy. So shout out to everyone that is watching us on Facebook and YouTube. Shout out to our YouTube viewers. While you're there, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for our latest videos, and look for us at Muslim Wholehearted Initiative. What are we drinking on, ladies? This is Sunday Morning Coffee. I hope y'all got some coffee in your cups.
most definitely.
I have yogurt.
You have yogurt in your cup? Shut up.
Yeah. Yogurt this morning.
Gut health. The probiotics. The yogurt.
I am drinking
I need it.
a Nescafe. A Nescafe.
Ooh, she's fancy.
Yes. I decided
Is
to
that
actually.
instant?
You just
Is
had
that
to. Yes, it is, Ifama. Yes, it is.
Ooh, the horror for the real
Ah.
coffee drinkers. The horror. We're cringing right now.
Instant coffee.
Us coffee connoisseurs
From the
are
halal meat
cringing.
market, if you
Us
must know.
coffee connoisseurs are cringing in their seats. For the rest of you guys, I brew my coffee every morning fresh. Sometimes I go out in the backyard and I ground the beans myself.
Thank you. That's a real coffee drinker. I'm sorry, Zainab. I'm taking coffee from Quesia.
Yes.
So we're just so
You know what, Ifama? Whatever. I purchased my coffee from the halal meat market. Shout out to Betty.
Does it smell like meat?
Tell them
It smells
30
like
packs
lamb.
for about $10. And I'm still a coffee drinker.
Mm.
I'm sure Kalila would be drinking on something delicious.
Right?
If she's
Exactly.
here, hopefully she'll be able to rejoin us soon.
Yes. How interesting.
I know.
Pull up,
Mhm. But
pull up
no,
our schedule because we have an excellent show.
yes, we
for
do.
you
We
guys.
do. So if
We have an excellent show for you guys today.
Yeah.
As Zainab said, shout out to our YouTube viewers.
Mhm.
While you're here, make sure to like our page. Welcome back to Sunday Morning Coffee with Friends. This is currently season 3. Okay, so we're excited to share an initiative we're working on with our community partners. 5 before 5. Quick shout out to 5 before 5. Seneth Musallam and Imam Siraj Wahaj of Masjid Taqwa, we are raising money to provide low-cost mental health counseling to Masjid El Taqwa. And we all know how needed this is and how, our community needed this back in the day, and we definitely need it now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we are offering low-cost mental health counseling to Masjid Taqwa community members. This is no easy task, but by Allah's permission and your support, we will achieve it. Take a look at this short. So we're going to show a video in a moment. Take a look at this short video and please find out how you can support us right now. So give us some.
Why
That's
are we
right.
live?
Okay, are we ready? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm Dr. Ray. That's my fault.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wait, let's pause. I'm sorry. You already said assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, right? Do I really need to say that again? No. Damn, I was about to say the salams again. I couldn't help it. It's hard.
Please be generous and provide. Oh, dang.
Yeah, I'm only teasing.
It was Raymond's fault. He started cracking up busted.
All right, run it back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm Dr. Ray Brock Murray, and we are the 5 Before 5 Foundation.
I'm Zainab Abdurrahim, one of the therapists here at the 5 Before 5.
I'm Sanat Musallam, licensed mental health counselor here at the foundation.
We're here today because we want to reach out to our community and ask them to support our partnership with Masjid Taqwa in providing counseling to those in our community that are most at risk.
Please donate generously.
Bam. Ray, let's go. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed.
That was funny. I love that video.
Welcome back, Khalila.
Thank you. My internet went out.
Now we lost Naima.
Oh my God. It's something it's like I'll be in Brooklyn. I don't know what's going on today.
Listen, it might be a Brooklyn thing. I don't know.
It might be.
That's y'all's cue.
So yes, if you guys are interested in donating to the initiative that we were talking about in the video, I know it was laden with humor, right? But it was really reflective of the way in which we work together. Shout out to Dr. Ray. Shout out to Sanam. Yes. They're amazing, amazing therapists, and I'm honored to work with them and be in their company and have this partnership. But really, Masjid Taqwa is a community that is a staple in the New York area, and I would just say nationally. It is one of those communities that really are beloved to us, and we wanted to support them. And we need your help in supporting the community. So please donate generously. We will pop up the links to donate throughout the show. So take a look at it. Go ahead and donate. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just one last thing I wanted to mention is that a $50 donation covers the cost of a single therapy session. So again, thank you very much. Naima is back, so let's add her. There we go.
Hey, sorry, I'm having some internet issues out here.
Me too. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, maybe it's the area. I don't know. Zainab's fine.
Can you guys see me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Khalil,
great.
Go ahead and read point number 5.
Yes.
From there.
All right. So we invite our brothers to join us next Sunday, January 30th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. and the last Sunday of every month for our Blueprint Islamic Manhood workshop or class that we have for brothers. This month's topic is going to be why our daughters need us. This powerful conversation will be facilitated by MWI's very own clinical consultant, Dr. Ray, and my brother, Muhammad Shahid. So see the link to register for that on the screen, and it will also be posted in the comments. So brothers, please try to come out for that.
Yes, come out. And I was trying to share the flyer, but then the phone told me I have no permission to share. We are just I love every moment of it.
Oh my God, technology, you know, it doesn't work for me.
I'm like, oh, I'm sharing the flyer just to see the transition. Chrome is like, you have no permission to share this flyer. Like, oh.
Get back in your place.
Yes. Stay in your place, little black girl.
Right.
You have no ability to do much of anything. In any case, moving right along with the show, we'll at some point post the flyer. Not a big deal. Let's continue on. So just one last announcement before we jump into the actual show itself. What we want to just mention is that, again, MWI is no longer a weekly show, right? We did mention that the last time we came on, but our focus this year and every year going forward is really our own personal self-care. And we encourage everyone watching to focus on their self-care as well. And in trying to do that for ourselves, we recognize that doing the show every single Sunday was just too much for all of us. So we decided to make the show a bi-monthly show. So we come on the second and fourth Sunday of every month. So please continue to tune in and support us, but it is no longer a weekly show. So Quesia, go ahead and jump right in.
Sorry, I muted myself. Okay, so without further ado, we are continuing our marriage series. Kiss Me Like You Love Me, fighting for our love. Okay, so if you are here, take a moment to invite, a friend, because this is definitely something that we can all benefit from. All right, so brief description. In this series, we continue our discussion on marriage and divorce amongst Muslims. A lot of attention has been given to pre-marriage, the beginning stages of marriage, and the big D, divorce. But what about those who work hard to maintain a thriving, healthy marriage in spite of life's difficulties? What can we learn from them? What are they doing differently that makes marriage work for them? Well, today's guest, Brother Rashawn and Sister Nairi, will share exactly what it takes for them to make their marriage a success. And we are so excited. And I have my pen and paper. All right. So without further ado, our first guest is none other than Nairi Martinez. She is a loving wife of over 24 years, mashallah, mother of 4 and grandmother of 2. She attended Baruch College, where she pursued a degree in business management and later owned and operated her own licensed daycare. She has been an educator for over 20 years and has taught grades pre-K to 2nd grade. She has used her skills and experience to train new teachers by facilitating workshops, coaching, and now supervising in the elementary division. She has always had a love of serving the community and has served as a board member to nonprofit organizations such as SSI, Muslim Sisters of Staten Island. She has worked with other organizations such as Beit al-Jama and MWI. She later started her own organization called Akila's Voices, which is a program to facilitate workshop that supports children on the spectrum. Support families with children on the spectrum. She will eventually like to open her own community center, which will facilitate programs such as sports, education, and culinary arts for children with special needs. And I'm definitely down for that. Okay, next up we have her husband, Rashawn Bronson. Rashawn Bronson is a loving husband, a dedicated father of 5, and a grandfather of 2. He owned and operated his own halal restaurant, mashallah, and most recently served the community as a peer specialist, which continues to ignite his passion for helping others. He has been an active member of his community on Staten Island and has worked with several organizations, such as Beit al-Jama and SSI. Brother Rashawn has always had a passion for community service in hopes of one day to open up his own community center for youth education. MashaAllah. Culinary arts and sports programs. He attended Decker College in Louisville, Kentucky, where he studied electrical engineering.
Ooh, that's like what Muhammad studied, right, Kalila?
I don't know.
Me either.
He always tells me what it was. I don't remember.
MashaAllah.
Like engineer or something.
There you go.
So we are so excited to have them here, and just the depth that they could add to this discussion today.
Yes. Thank you. Welcome, Sister Nairi and Brother Rashawn. We're going to ask you to just come a little bit closer and into the frame. Yay, welcome.
Okay.
Can you see me?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Nairi, just get a little closer. There you go.
Okay. It's so funny. We had it all set up.
Perfect.
Didn't work out.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for joining us. We're beyond excited to have you guys here today. And I think this conversation is going to be just such a powerful one, right? I'm really, really excited. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
So we're so excited to have you here, as Zainab said. And, you know, what's your love story? So how did you guys meet? What is there like a story? Like what happened with this? So please let us know.
So yeah, Assalamu alaikum everyone. We're so happy and thrilled to be here. It's an honor to be on MWI. We loved last week's few weeks discussions with Bay and Muhammad. So alhamdulillah, we hope to do justice just like they did. It was amazing. Yeah, we have a story. I mean, I don't want to tell our age, but we've known each other for almost 40 years, which is kind of crazy. But yeah.
Really? Almost 40 years?
Almost 40 years. So his cousin was actually my best friend in elementary school. So that's how we all met. That's how we started building relationships. And our first encounter was actually a pool party when we were about 9 years old. So it's crazy. That's when we actually met. That's the first story of how we met and how we knew each other. So after that, around middle school is when he really started coming around in terms of we had some classes that we had together for a co-op class that we were taking around 7th grade in summer school. And that's when we just started hanging out and just being friends. And of course, this is before Islam. So we're both converts to Islam, which is a whole another story that we can do another time. But alhamdulillah. So really around 13 is when we really started building just a friendship with each other. All through high school, we knew each other as well.
Hold on, stop. Because you have to start like she didn't like me.
Yeah. I was gonna get to that. She didn't like me. I didn't like him.
Yeah, because
he was a clown. He
right.
still is, but
I'm saying that it's more so when you're little and you like a girl, like you pull her hair and you talk crazy and. It was one of those things. So I always had jokes. I would talk about the way that she runs, and anything was funny. But I would have to thank I would say my cousin and my aunt actually, because she used to tell me like she used to work in the church rectory. Nairi used to work in the church rectory, and she was like, "Oh, it's kind of late. Can you go up there and walk her home?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I'm like 12 years old too. What am I gonna do now?" So we would go up there. Exactly. But I guess she figured, this dude, he's from the hood. He could do something.
Protect me, right?
So that's how I think we started to build like a really close relationship and friendship. And alhamdulillah, we've been, I guess, friends ever since.
Besties. Besties since then. But then towards the end, like around high school, he kind of left and he didn't tell me that he was leaving. So that was a little bit of an issue for us where, I kind of felt betrayed. I was like, okay, you're going to leave. There might be some other things that you might do, no problem. But he didn't call me or anything. He just left. So after that, there was about a 6-year gap between us. So, I had my own life. He had his own life. For about 6 years, there was no contact, no anything. I didn't know why he left. He just left suddenly. So that was a little situation that happened.
Okay.
So he can explain that. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't leave suddenly. Some issues happened in my home where I was at, and I kind of got shipped off the job corps. And when I was at that age, I didn't know how to deal with embarrassment and how to talk about how you felt like rejection from your parents. So it was like then it was more so with me. I was in a mode of embarrassed. Like, how could I tell her? Because she comes from a good family with people who a good neighborhood. It's like we're from two different sides of the street. I'm from Coney Island. She's from Park Slope. It's very different. Even though it's Brooklyn, it's very different how we get down. With us, we taught not to really deal with emotions. So the way I dealt with it was like, I just don't talk about it at all, So that's what happened. I didn't leave. I got shipped. It's different.
Right.
So in a nutshell, that's our story of how we met, alhamdulillah, and we've been, as a team ever since, inshallah.
What? Yeah.
No. How old were the two of you when you got married? How old were you guys when you got married?
I was 21. I was a young guy.
Wow. We're only 6 months apart.
Don't do that, Rachel. Don't do that.
I was trying to explain she was walking. I was still in the crib. He was cradle robbing. That's just the way it goes.
Oh no, that's hilarious.
That is.
Well, I want to say that this story is so beautiful. The fact that you guys knew each other from small.
Yeah,
for so long. We really don't we don't really see that often. And subhanAllah, look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you guys were shipped / left for that moment. And subhanAllah, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought you guys back. And so beautiful. MashaAllah, so beautiful.
Yeah. Wow.
That I think it's just so MashaAllah. I mean, Allah continue to give you guys barakah.
I told him when we were like 12 or 13, I was gonna come back. I was gonna come marry her anyway.
He did say
that. Wait, this is
And I think maybe that's why I felt so betrayed when he left the way he did, because I didn't believe him, but I was like, okay, well, maybe. And
that's really sweet.
Well, clearly he's a man of his word.
Right.
Man of his word.
That is so cute.
That is.
So our next question is, mashallah, I myself, I've been married for 15 plus years, and there are great moments, but there are also times where it's really difficult. How have you guys faced difficulties together as a couple, and even separately, how did you figure out this is how you were going to deal / cope with what you guys were going through?
You want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go first.
And wait, I'm so sorry. And I just wanted to add on to that. And how has it made your marriage stronger?
Okay, so you can piggyback on that. Okay. So one of the main things I think that's most important in all marriages is to have open discussions. A lot of the times, marriages don't have that. We have marriages that we're not talking. And we're not having those hard conversations that lead to solving problems. And a lot of the times, if we can just get to those open conversations, even though they might be difficult and there might be times that we don't want to discuss certain things, you need to have these things. You need to talk about these things. A lot of the times also when people get married, they don't know what each other wants. We know that, okay, well, eventually we're going to have kids. Eventually we might do these things. But when? We need to have those discussions. When do we want to have these children? Is it a time where, you know, we want to have children right away? And a lot of the times people don't discuss that. So I think if you have more of these open discussions in terms of, you know, how to help with struggles that you have, this will make, you know, the marriage a lot stronger. We've had situations in our relationship that the first and foremost, we always take it to Allah. We always, you know, make istikhara for any decisions that come up that are struggles for us, that are hard. We always take it to Allah first, because we know that this is our foundation, and without that foundation, you know, we wouldn't be able to get through some of the struggles that we've had.
And I think and that's where I was going to take it too. I think my saying, she'll tell you, even to my daughters, when there was an issue, if I say something or there was a problem, my thing is like, all right, look, you know, after exhausting everything that I can come up with in my head, if I believe something is, you know, right and exact, and I think it's from Allah and His Messenger, after that, I'm like, look, man, you know, go find a sheikh that'll agree with you. Go find some dalil that, you know, that agree with what you're saying, and then you can do it, and I'll shut up. But other than that, you know, we're not gonna, you know, and that's how we always kind of dealt with problems. Like we would talk to each other if it came to a point where I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, because sometimes it's not really the message, it's the messenger. You know, and it's like, you know, with your kids and your children, even your wife. And as I was when I was younger, I was way more aggressive in my tone, you know, and that's just like I said, just growing up in background. Like, in order to get your point across, so you got to be the loudest one in the crowd, or the fastest with your hands, one or the other, you know, or the fastest with your feet if you couldn't be, you know. So you have to sort of, you know. So I came at it from that perspective like that. But with them, you know, sometimes it's like, okay, well, that's dad, because you'll hear it. I'll say something, and then one of the sheikhs at the school will say the exact same thing, and they'll come like it was the most profound thing ever said in the history of the world. You know, like, I just told you that yesterday. It's the same exact thing. But to them, it's like, yeah, but it's coming from you. The way that you said it to me is different. So, you know, I learn how to control myself and actually start to realize where certain things come from. Like when your wife is talking to you and she's hurt, that hurt is not from just her wanting to hurt you or to want to attack you. That hurt is because she loves you and she wants you to understand where she's coming from. You know what I mean? So like, this is the only reason why she's expressing herself so, you know, in that manner, is because she wants to resolve it. If she didn't want to resolve it, she just go behind your back and do it. You know, it's nothing, you know. So I think that's what it is. My advice would just be like, don't sweat the small stuff. And a lot of things, you know, pick your battles with certain things, but as long as it doesn't cross the lines of, you know, going against Quran and Sunnah, let it go. You know, a lot of things don't need to be, you know, expressed. Because I was one of them dudes. As soon as something comes up, I gotta address it right then and there. So then I always became the guy that attacked everything. So now nobody wants to talk. You know. So
you know,
go ahead.
The point that you made, like subhanAllah, and it was actually very similar to what Muhammad and Bayan had touched on last week. It just reminded me of that, where you see your wife as your ally, right? When she's coming to you with something, she's not coming from a place of hate or anger or to try to take you down. So how you respond to that has to be on par with someone that is your partner. This is your life partner. And I think that to me, it resonates so much, because I think that oftentimes we see our spouses, especially when we're at odds with one another, as our adversary. I think that what you said is so important for young couples, seasoned couples, those trying to get married, to really pay attention to this person that you've chosen to be in your life for the rest of your life, inshallah, is your partner. And when they speak to you, when they're coming to you with something, with a concern, they're doing it from a place of love. Because like you said, she could have did it behind your back. She could have, you know, came at you sideways, but she's coming at you from a place of love. And I think that many of us forget that. I think that's a really, really powerful point. I just wanted to speak on that a little bit.
And I also liked how you touched on keeping the deen as your foundation. Nice. Whenever a problem does arrive or an issue does arrive, to take it back to Quran and Sunnah, take it back to Allah. Let's have a discussion about it. Right. That I think is also so important, and something we all probably need a reminder in, and something to keep in mind, to always have that as your foundation. in a marriage. And if you have that as your foundation, most things you can face and overcome.
Right.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it sounds like what you guys are saying, your advice is, if I understood correctly, is that communication is the first thing. Grounding yourself in Islam, your relationship in Islam is the first thing. Communication and listening. And lastly, knowing what are the things that are going to be important that you need to work on versus feeling like you have to work on every single thing that happens.
Exactly.
Did I understand that right? Is that what your advice would be for everyone?
Yes, definitely.
Yes,
Love that.
exactly.
Love that.
Okay, all right, great. So guys, there's some beautiful gems out there that
Oh, yes.
that this beautiful couple has given. So definitely, I hope you guys are taking notes on that. So the next question that I have for you guys is, how has parenting a child with special needs challenged you and brought you closer together as a couple?
Want to take this one?
Yeah, that's fine. Alhamdulillah, this one, actually, when I saw this question, it was a great question because I spoke to, many parents that I know that have children on the spectrum or just different needs. And the major concern that they've had is not having that support from their spouse to really know what to do. Because, a lot of times, you have to see the whole picture. There's so many different perspectives when you deal with a child on the spectrum. So one of the things that we've had together was our support, the support that we've had within each other. Once we found out, my son was actually diagnosed at the age of 3. So once we found out, our next step was like, okay, so now what are we going to do to make sure that he's taken care of? What are, the next steps? What are some services that we are going to have for him to make sure that we set him up in a proper place where he's able to thrive? So these are the questions, the conversations that we've had as a couple to help us deal with it. But I think the major thing and the most important thing was that we always supported each other. My husband, subhanAllah, really, really took a back seat in terms of his job, because we definitely needed somebody here to be, even though that he had to go to a different school, he had to be bused. We needed to make sure that he had someone here to pick him up and also be able to bring him back home. So someone had to be here. And with my job, my hours were not flexible in that way. So that was another hard conversation that we had. I mean, certain jobs he literally had to sacrifice and he couldn't take because we needed somebody here for our son. So that was another thing that really helped in terms of our support.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to the type of person that you are and your personality. Like, I grew up around, some kids who undiagnosed with certain things. So it wasn't foreign to me. So I think that's part of what it is. So I didn't have that thing or that fear of stigma. Whereas, people are afraid to, take their child outside because they act a little bit different, or because they act up, or because they think a little bit differently, and they're afraid that somebody else is going to see them and call them names and stuff like that. So I think I can just speak for the fathers. I know, like, this is some of the issues that the fathers have, and how we get through it as a couple is, I think, just our personalities. We're the type to just say, all right, this is what it is. We dig in, and this is the situation that we're dealt, and it's all from Allah. And then we try to look in the blessings of it, And I'm just like, I think about my son every day, right? Like, there's certain things that we don't have to go through that other parents of so-called neurotypical children have to go through. Because of, just imagine little handsome son, he's running around high school, and, you worry about girls and drugs and such and such. The boy takes, alhamdulillah, he takes orders, man. He knows with certain things in junior high school, not even junior high school, elementary school. He's like, Dad, they're having a Halloween party. It's haram. I can't go. Certain things like he's programming, he's wired to the point where it's like, subhanAllah, like, he's not really interested in running around with girls. He's not experimental where he likes to deal with, we have to worry about him dealing with drugs. So it's like there's blessings in it, you know, and then there's also obstacles. And how we deal with it as a family is however it comes. You just say, okay, well, here's the issue. He's going to be 18 or 17 or 16 soon. We have to try to find ways to, you know, so he can, you know, function and live on his own. So that's what we do. We go ahead, we dig in, do the research, see what we can do and provide, and we go forward like that. And I think a lot of it just has to do with personality and the way that we are as people. We're both caring, loving individuals. And, you know, in the beginning with him, it was rough because he was violent. He would attack her,
Right.
you know, a lot. And then a lot how we would deal with it, well, I would deal with it was like, you know, hold him like you would grab him up, like, yo, you can't do that. And I'm like, wait a minute. Well, this is where he's learning this behavior from. Let me back up, you know, and let me talk to him. And then now, alhamdulillah, he's one of the sweetest dudes you could ever meet. It's like
yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
The sweet pie.
Patience too. I mean, I feel another thing, the really, really one of the major things that it has taught us is, if nothing else, patience. Dealing with needs. You have to have patience. So even if you don't in the beginning, you will. In order to get through things, you have to have patience. So he has taught us that. And you know, all the other parts of, you know, other members of the family as well. You know, they had to understand also how to deal with certain things, certain breakouts, certain you know, meltdowns he would have. You know, we would have these discussions. Okay, if this is what happens, we might have to exit. So we know what to do. This is the drill, and we got to do what we got to do. We got to adjust. Yeah. So again, it's all about conversations and having that patience. That really helped our support.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Oh, I just want to add one thing.
Absolutely beautiful. Sure.
Yeah. One thing. It's just that no. This is serious because it's like the brunt of the work gets put on the mother. It gets put on the mother, and it's like you know, and even I got caught up in that. Like I'm like, okay, well, you're the educator. What we gonna do? You know, so it gets, and it's sort of sad because as a father, it touched me personally because you have you know, dreams and aspirations for your son, and you want to live like kind of vicariously through. With the girls, I didn't feel that. With him, when he was born, I'm like, okay, this is my replacement. So I'm gonna live like, you know, the basketball dreams or the boxing dreams that I had. You know, I could live through my son with that. And then all of a sudden, you start to realize like, okay, this may not happen. You know, and then but it's not about him. That's about you. Then you have to get into it like, okay, well, what are we gonna do to deal with him? And a lot of that fell on Nairi, and she dug it like, yo, this is what we need to do for our son. And I give her most of the credit because it's like, you know, want to get him out there, like even putting him on videos, reading and stuff like that. It was hard for me because I didn't want people to look at him funny. You know, like, you know, saying like, oh, he's older, his little sister could read better than him. He realized like, so what? You know what I mean? Like, you know, like really, you gotta really like, so what? But in the end, emotionally, and all of these different things that, you know, that the kids go through really falls on what the mother does, and I give her most of the credit for whatever, you know, strides they made with it. You know, I really piggybacked on what she did because this is her expertise. She runs in that lane. So, you know, if she's about education and about structure and about discipline and how you do it, and she's around those people who can inform her, once she gets information, I follow her lead in that regard. So I give her most of the credit on it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
You know, I just want to, it just reminds me of just like, well, special needs families or not, but so much more so as special needs families, just the emotional support and just like the cohesion and how important that is. And that can really make or break a person. And I hear how you said your wife, you know, she has all the education she has, I mean, as far as like, you know, teaching and so on and so forth. But even when it comes to children, if they don't feel that unconditional love, if they feel that you're embarrassed of them, like you said, you know, he's going on camera, how people react, like the children, they sense all of that. So I think, I mean, of course, I can't speak for you and, you know, the tremendous gains he has, but I definitely think I would attribute a large amount of it to you guys have a united front. You guys have dealt with any issues beforehand, and it seeps through, you know, not only your special needs child, but your whole family. That's so right. I think that's definitely a testament, for all of us.
Absolutely.
Making that work ongoing.
United.
And making that work ongoing, right? Because this is something that you continuously work at. A marriage is not something that you work out for a year, right? We're good. No more work needs to be done. You're constantly evolving and constantly growing. And I'm literally holding back tears as you started talking about Zaid and how your dreams and aspirations were within him. And you recognize, and this is something, especially men of color, they don't see, like they don't own the fact that that's about them. That has nothing to do with their sons. SubhanAllah. And the fact that you were able to get that and recognize that early on so that you didn't box him. You didn't place him in a box that he didn't deserve to be placed in. And that's why Zaid is such a beautiful young man. And if you guys have seen him, he's adorable, first of all. MashaAllah, he's going to be my son-in-law somehow. I have like 6 son-in-laws and I only have 1 child, but that's not the but he's such a loving, caring young man, alhamdulillah. And this is and I believe that by Allah's permission, first and foremost, and then you guys' hard work, this is the results of that. Alhamdulillah. That really touched me. Alhamdulillah.
No, mashallah, definitely. I was definitely holding back tears too, Zainab, at that point.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah, mashallah. Once again, may Allah continue to bless and give barakah to your family. I mean, I just wanted to put out there for those of you who are taking notes, and correct me guys if you guys want to jump in. It sounds like to me that you guys constantly have support and that you guys understand, you have an understanding that there will be some types of sacrifices that need to happen, and that you guys have created a relationship or stability through fostering love, patience, and understanding. So that's what it sounds like to me. Did anybody else want to jump in and add to that?
I just love how it's a team effort, and they really truly are partners in the team in this. And I love how the two of them work so well together in the raising of the children, in the taking care of their family. And I think, and again, I really hope, particularly the brothers are watching. And we just need so many more brothers like this, Brother Rashawn and brothers who are like that. We really do. Brothers who are there, who are stepping up and doing what they're supposed to do, supporting their wives, supporting their families, actively involved with their children and their families. That's something, unfortunately, we just don't really see that often. A lot of brothers do tend to pass it on to the mother. It's like, okay, my work is done. It's all you now. You take care of the kids. You do everything. I'm the breadwinner. I'm gonna do that part. You got everything else. But seeing a brother who actively involved, it's just such a beautiful thing. And we do truly, speaking from experience, need more brothers like that who are stepping up and doing the work and rolling up the sleeves and diving in and doing what they need to do. So I just want to commend the both of you. And again, particularly Brother Rashawn, because we don't really see that, unfortunately, with our brothers doing the work and putting in effort. So may Allah reward you, both of you.
I mean. So our next question is, how important is it having people in your life that are rooting for your success? Because we all always have, people that are around us during our good times. And then there's those few people that are around us during our bad times too. But are they rooting for your success? And how important is it to have people that are rooting for your success in your life?
Yes.
I'm going to let him start off because he has a little different perspective of that than I
do. I would say, thinking about the question now, it is very important to have people that root for your success. And alhamdulillah, for the most part, is the Muslims that are in our life. Like, we come from predominantly non-Muslim families. So, and the Muslims who are in my family, yes, they root for my success from afar. We're not close geographically, and neither socially either, because of certain differences that we have in the religion. But even beyond that, like, they still wish well for me and my family. So it's very important because, even some of the people that are on this panel right now, have helped me and my family and wanted to see us succeed, even through our roughest times. So it's very, very important because you need that backbone is something to fall on. And you see what happens, like before we became really active in the community and starting to be around Muslims. Like when we first got married, there was no support from any Muslims anywhere because I was coming from a different state. She was just accepting Islam pretty much. So it's like we didn't really have that support. So it was kind of, I had to get into a mode of, take it back to my sports days again, where it's us against them. Mm-hmm. So we were supporting ourselves for a very long time. So in that, to make a long story short, it's kind of like when a person accepts Islam that has been non-Muslim and done the exact opposite of what Islam says, so you can really see what the truth and how it feels. You know what I mean? Like, not to say that even being born into Islam, you have to eventually accept it. But what I'm saying is, when you've been doing the exact opposite of it, when you've been doing the exact opposite of it, and you see what that brings, so you can see the truth when it's made very clear to you that this is what you've been doing. So for me, it's the same thing. It's like when we were on the outside and it was just me and her, we saw the beauty of it when we started to get around, sisters and brothers, who actually want to see you succeed and want to give you the best advice that you can give. You're like, oh, subhanAllah, this is what it's supposed to be like. It's not supposed to be just me trying to figure it out, at all times. So I think it's very, very important to have that support. Very, very important to have, good company, not just Muslim, but good Muslims around you.
Yep, so true.
And
good people in the back, not just believers, but good believers.
Yeah, good believers, and also even the non-Muslims, like the people you would go to. Like I can go to my grandmother for advice,
right?
And she's gonna give me, her wisdom and understanding of what she believes. Mm-hmm. And you kind of decipher that and deal with it and put it in your own, box and run with it. But I couldn't ask certain members of my family for advice, even though they had the age and the experience, because they would try to get you. Oh, you don't, well, this is what you should do. Or in particular, we had family members who I would bring them. The kids drop them off for a few hours, or whatever the case is, and then they're telling my children, "Or your father's not here. You don't have to pray. You don't have to wear that. Your father's not here."
Wow.
Right. So like you're rooting, but in my face is a different story. Oh, you're such a good father. Like this is the difference. So then now it's like, okay, well, you can no longer go over there, but these are people that we can't break the ties with. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so it's a double-edged sword, but I can't let you go over there and spend the night no more. I can't let you hang out with my siblings. I can't let you. So I kind of have a different perspective per se. I think we lost the camera, right?
Can you still hear us?
We can hear you, but it's a little laggy.
Yeah. But that was it. Like my perspective was just that. I'll deal with the camera in 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
Can you still hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you? Okay. So just to piggyback off of what he said, in terms of support, for myself, definitely it's important for, especially for family members, that you need that shoulder, you need advice. But as my husband was saying before, there's certain advice that non-Muslim parents, families, they cannot give us. So in terms of certain things and how dealing with our children, how helping to raise our children, these are certain things that we had to figure out on our own, because we knew that they would give us a totally different, perspective on how things are supposed to be. So, in terms of the support, my major thing with my family, when we found out that my son was diagnosed with autism, one of the first persons that really had my back was my mom. She was actually the first one who started saying, listen, I think you need to look more into him and in terms of services. I think because I was really in denial. I was like, no, he's a boy. It's my first son. He's just active, So in terms of support, she was on the front line. So I definitely I always appreciate that for my mom. And I always make dua for my mom because she definitely has always been there and always have been the one, in our corner to help support, with our son. So in terms of family, I think all of us have that feeling where we want our families to support. It's just about where can they support us, and they'll just have to support us in different ways. And that's something that we had to learn.
Mm.
I like that answer where you said it's just a matter of where they can support us, because sometimes I think we always almost think it's all or nothing, so you might have many of us, like you said, have non-Muslim family members,
Right.
or just family members who just can't support us fully, but they can support us in this aspect. So it's
Right.
not all or nothing. And that's something I'm actually going to try to be mindful of also.
You know what, Quincy? It's so interesting that you mentioned that, because I feel like in this season of my life,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot is just showing me that, Zainab, you have to accept people as they are. And I
Yeah.
think that is a lot of what Sister Nairi and Brother Rashawn are speaking to. You still keep your boundaries up, but accept them as they are. Like
Mhm.
this is who they are. They're showing who they are. Believe them and act accordingly.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
think that that's a really powerful message, especially
Mhm.
people in your life as it relates to your marriage too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Like recognize. So my biggest takeaway was like recognizing good company,
Mhm.
Yes.
and I think personally as well that's a good. That's something that I think has also helped with my marriage as well. Recognizing good company and having good company around you, and if those people aren't so great, no, you're not. And I love what the brother said is that no, you're not breaking ties with them. However, the way that we move or interact with each other is going to be a little bit different.
Mhm.
Different depending on how the extremes of the situation.
True. True.
So that was wonderful advice. Thank you. So back to another love question. So I would like to know, or we would like to know, do you guys know each other's love language? And if so, what changes have you guys had to make with each other to kind of understand that better?
Bam. No.
Because his answer is longer than mine. That's how you want to
I think I made the brother blush. I'm very sorry.
Over the years, that would be messed up if we didn't. But yes, and our love language are actually similar. I think that's another thing that kind of helps our bond, because we have similar, love languages. One of the major things is acts of service. We both love being involved in the community. So that's something that really kind of, brings us together, because we have open discussions on different things and what we could do, how we could support the community. So these are things that always bring us together. Watching movies is one of our favorite things that we love to do. We always like to watch certain movies, and we like boxing too. That's another thing. We've been boxing for a few years now. Often on. A little. Yes, I love boxing. I love it. I love watching boxing. I love boxing.
I did not know that.
Something that's more
Right?
him, because it helps
Note
him.
to self,
to
do
keep
not
in
take
shape.
off Sister
So I'm
Nairi.
trying to keep him back on that.
Nice.
And definitely affirmations. One of the things that we love to do with each other, we always text each other throughout the day, because I'm very busy, he's very busy. He'll send me little texts here and there, and that's something that we always try to do consistently, because it's something that really makes us feel good. And he also understands when I'm having a bad day, so he'll just send me a little text out the blue, and I'm like, okay, alhamdulillah, it'll make my day go really smooth. So yeah, we're pretty in touch with that.
She had to really explain to me what love language is.
He was already doing it.
I didn't know what that. Like these are. Look, I'm just me. I don't understand what that's. I just know what she likes, and I know what I like. What love language is a little bit, beyond. Like they said, above my pay grade. I don't know. I try to keep things a little bit simple, and it's just like I'm one of those. I'm not gonna say I'm a people pleaser, but I like to see joy in other people. Like if I'm feeding you, I like to see you enjoy my food. If I'm, if I'm talking to you, I like to see that you enjoy my conversation. If not, I'm just gonna shut up, you know. But or you know, in certain things like that. So with her happiness kind of like, you know, like certain things I've done in my life, like I've traveled a lot, you know, and seen certain places I know she's never been. So I kind of like, oh, work. I can go here and we can go here and I can show her this, that, or we can explore certain things together. And I know just seeing her happy makes me happy, you know, and my kids and stuff like that. That's the way I always kind of, you know, somebody asked me, did I have low self-esteem? That's why, you know, maybe that's why I enjoy looking at things like that. I don't think so, but that's just, yeah, I don't know. That's just the way I've always been. Like I like to see other people, the other person happy, and what more than the person that you love the most on the planet, you know, just, you know, being happy with you and being happy with the situation.
I'm call the school. Your head looks.
When you come home, you know, subhanAllah, when you come home, it makes your house peaceful. You know,
that's what we live by. If you don't have peace in your household, I mean, that's the one place that you need to find tranquility. If nothing else,
true.
You know,
True.
we're dealing with, you know, we have a whole life outside of our home that's busy, that's hectic. You know, other people that we have to deal with. So when you come home, you need to have that peace and tranquility.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And just to explain for the people, the folks that are at home, what a love language is, right? Because speaking to what Brother just mentioned, people may not necessarily be familiar with the term, but the meaning people are very familiar with, right? So a love language is basically, it's broken up into two categories. It's 5 different types of love languages, but it's basically how you communicate, actions to take. That's basically what it is. So the first one is words of affirmations, right? Words of affirmation. Physical touch is the second one. Receiving gifts, quality time, and acts of service. And basically, out of these 5, where do you fit? Which one resonates most with you? And do you communicate that to your partner? Do you know what your partner's love language is? Right? Is it a combination of one or 5 or all 5 of them? You know, finding out and understanding which one of these 5 love languages are important to them. I love it. I do love languages, because I think that we all have something, whether it's words of affirmation, physical touch, and not even in like an intimate way, but intimacy is so much more than just what we traditionally think of intimacy. But just like, you know, putting your hand on their shoulder, you know, or just saying, you know, you did a good job today. You know what I mean? I really appreciate you. Thank you. You know, whatever it may be. So I wanted us to explore that a little bit. So I'm sorry we didn't actually include the definition of love languages in the question now that we were just sitting here talking about it. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Naima.
No, you're fine. Wonderful. But based off of what they said, it sounds like, mashallah, you guys without having put a label on it. Right. I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. It sounded like you guys had it in those places. And I think it was affirmation of language, using language, and you guys, the 5th one, which is like they like the same things.
Acts of service.
Acts of service.
Acts of service. There we go. So yeah, mashallah, you guys actually hit it on the head without using the special terms.
That's right.
Very good. They're totally in tune with each other.
Right, totally. Mashallah. So my biggest takeaway was like, you must learn. You guys basically learn from each other. Learn the love from each other, and making sure that there's peace at home. That was my biggest takeaway from that. And last week, as you guys know, Bayan and Muhammad, I'm just going to say Khalil's brother, because I always mess up his name, not intentionally.
You're not as bad as Quasia calling him Shakid.
And I think he's watching, so no pressure.
Shout out to Muhammad and Bayan. Shaggy.
Mashallah. See you guys. Mashallah, they how helpful counseling was for them. So I wanted to know what types of support have been really good for you guys throughout, mashallah, this 20 period point in your life.
I'm sorry, Naima, you were breaking up as you were reading the question. The benefit of our audience, if you could just read it, just so that the audience can hear what the question was.
So the question is, what types of support have been helpful for you guys in your marriage?
I would say it's like one of those things like you don't think you need the support until you need it. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, okay, you going through a perceived struggle sometimes, and you may have to go to particular people. And alhamdulillah, like not all of my friends, but most of my friends are imams or some kind of,
Good.
So it's like, getting advice from them is, very important to me. And I try to go to them like this, my network of people, alhamdulillah, knowledgeable people. So having that support is very important. And like going to them is like almost like a safety net. Like I don't feel like I'm ever in doubt of anything once I speak to at least 3 or 4. But in difficult times, we have a very good support system with some of the sisters and my wife, and it's also important like to have different support groups, I think, because like if y'all run into the same people, sometimes you run into different issues. Like, because if that's my boy, we grew up together or we moved together, that's my guy, and you going to him because he's an imam, you might get a little skewed view of, that's my man, I can't violate him. And then depending on the person, alhamdulillah, I have straight shooters, as friends, but sometimes you don't, sometimes you don't. So I would say for the most part, it's very important to have that support. And when we had to use them, just counseling in general, the sister, we have sisters who we go to. I don't know if you want to mention their names, they might not want to be mentioned. And then brothers that we go to that are really, helpful in helping us and guide us, especially through the emotional stuff, because I don't deal well with emotional stuff. I'm very mechanical, so I need somebody to tell me like, yo, bro, you really should be a little bit more sensitive. Like, I can give you one short story. I went to my uncle one time because we was having an issue. And my uncle was more mechanical than I am. But I was making some complaints, and this was early on in the marriage. And he said to me, he just looked at me, he was like, yo, I can say that, you can't say that, and walked off. Now, what he meant by that was, it took me a couple of days to figure it out. What he meant by that was, his wife was born in Morocco in a Muslim family. So what I was complaining about, you would expect a lifelong Muslim to understand these issues and to be understanding of these issues. Your wife just accepted Islam a year or 2 ago, bro. Like, calm down. That's what he was telling me. You know what I mean? Well, me and him are on the same wavelength with certain things. So it took me a while, but I was like, you know what? He's completely right. So, and they know not to come at me with the emotional stuff. I don't calculate that well, and it doesn't resonate with me as much as just give me the facts and then let me figure it out. So having the right support is very, 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 very important.
Yes, in terms of my support, the things that we did when we were having some issues in our marriage, we actually did separate consultations. I had my own support system. He had his own support system. And then what we did was we kind of brought it together, because at that point we needed to separate ourselves from one another, so that we could really dissect and find out why we were having this issue. Why was this problem coming up? And, when we thought about it, it really wasn't a problem. It was, this is something that is so powerful that I felt, this was a test from Allah. This was something that actually brought us closer in our marriage, because we literally started diving into Quran. We had to go through, different ayahs and saying, why is this happening? There's a reason for this. So subhanAllah, we took the situation that we had and we turned it around. And it was, to me, it was a huge blessing from Allah. It was a test, but it was a blessing at the same time, because we had to go back in search of really what brought us together. And what brought us together was our foundation that we found, within Allah, and this is what helped us through our marriage, no matter what. First and foremost, wholeheartedly, and I know that's one of the questions towards the end too that we're going to be talking about. But I feel like without that foundation, we would not have been able to get through what we knew. We really did fight for our love. It wasn't something that we were trying to give up. It was something that we knew we were not going to give up. We were going to work on it, no matter how ugly it became, no matter how hard it was. We were going to do it, inshallah. So that's what we did. We had our separate counseling, and then we kind of came together and just started talking amongst ourselves, and we worked through it. Alhamdulillah.
I love that, Nari.
Me too.
I love that. As so many of us, we don't recognize that getting married is the easy part. Sustaining the marriage is what we fight for.
Yep. Doing the work.
Right. Wow.
Doing the work. And the same as we did last week. Doing the work, really rolling up your sleeves and diving in and doing the work, and because it's not always easy. It's really fighting, like you said, fighting for your love, fighting for your marriage. Are you willing to do that? Unfortunately, again, this is a big problem in our community. A lot of people aren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
They hit that exit button quick. It's like, okay, it's just starting to get a little hard. I'm feeling resistance. I'm out. It was nice knowing you.
I think, Kalila, I think the thing is too, our attitude, especially, for one, we have a double whammy. One, the Muslim community, but then also the African American and Hispanic community, the way counseling or therapy is portrayed. But this is the common thread with them. And the last couple is that they sought counseling. They sought counseling.
Outside help.
Outside help, and it brought them even closer together. But somehow the majority of the Muslim community construed it as, well, this is from the shaitan, or if you can't figure it out, or
you have low man,
or you need to pray more, or any short-sighted answers. So I really wish, that the rest of us can really jump on board with this, because this really does seem to be the common denominator.
It really does. It really does, because they literally mentioned it last 2 weeks ago with Mohammed Bayan. And as it's funny, there's another similar situation is how Bayan mentioned the same thing Nari just said, how she went and got outside help, separately herself first. And then they came together as a couple and discussed as a couple, and they did the exact same thing. So I thought this is something you all need to pay attention to and take note of.
Yeah.
I was going to say that.
To the point. I'm sorry, Naima. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, SubhanAllah, my biggest takeaway was the individual growth. They both had, both couples, individual growth.
Right.
The beautiful thing that I'm absolutely loving about you guys is your foundation in Islam.
Yes.
Your individual growth, your foundation in Islam, and as a couple, recognizing good company. And your three things, SubhanAllah, speak. I mean, I feel like you guys are having a conversation with me and my husband, because those were things that individual growth, SubhanAllah, recognizing good company. I felt like that was recognizing good company is so important. SubhanAllah. May Allah continue to give you guys better.
I think that's the formula. I think that's the formula. I think that's I really do.
I agree. I was just thinking about how it's so important for us to come to marriages recognizing that this person is not going to make us whole, right? Like in doing the work that we have to do to kind of heal any traumas that we may have had prior to our marriage. Like we come in as who we are. And sometimes there's a process that we have to go through to kind of grow through and get through that stuff. And like you said, Muhammad and Bayan, they definitely touched on that. Bayan, she spoke about never having experienced divorce herself, but living through 3 divorces and how that informed how she showed up in her marriage. That had nothing to do with Muhammad, right? That was her work that she had to do. And I love that point. Similar to what Nari had mentioned as well, going and getting your support for yourself. You know, sitting down with Allah's book, reflecting on what does Allah want from me, right? Doing my work, and then presenting myself to my husband and to my wife. This is what we need to work on together to sustain our marriage. I love this conversation. We could go on all day.
I know.
the last question for today, and then we'll jump into some viewer comments and questions if there are any, is what does living Islam wholeheartedly, again, this is the Muslim Wholehearted Initiative, mean to you and for your marriage?
All right. For me, it's just like what we've been talking about. You know, it's just in every turn, in every instance. What, to me, to put it simply, what is the point if you know this world is an exam and you have the open book and it's an open book test? Why are you fighting the answers? The answers are clear and it's there. And whatever's not clear, ask those who know. And those who know, like, I like things on autopilot. I don't want to have to struggle for anything. And there's no need to struggle when the answers are already there. Of course, you're going to have disagreements. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have, you know, whatever it is. And alhamdulillah, I can count probably on one or one and a half hands how many arguments we've actually had. And out of those arguments, I would say about 4 or 5 wasn't even about us. You know what I mean? So, and it's because, like I said, once I get backed into a corner where I feel like I can't talk to you anymore, my automatic default is to say, okay, look, I'm giving you hadith, I'm giving you Quran. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it. Maybe I have it wrong. You go and find someone who can help you understand it differently if you can. And then if it's right, and it's right and exact, and you bring it to me, I have no other choice than to accept it. You know what I mean? And then once that happens, what is the argument about? Then my argument is no longer with you. My argument is with Allah and His Messenger. You can't win that argument.
That's right.
You know? Therefore, like, that's always going to be the default. And to me, living wholeheartedly means, like, what Allah tells us. Any problems or any issues, we bring it back to Allah and His Messenger. And then you don't have any feeling about the decision.
Yeah.
You just accept it and go with it. Like, what is the point in fighting what you know is the truth? So you know, that to me is living it wholeheartedly. Is like at every turn, every decision, almost everything that you do, just make sure it's, you're gonna make split decisions. There's gonna be little ijtihads here and there that you may fall short on. But then you also know how to, how you go back and try to rectify that after, because it's already there for you. I don't got to think about it. I know what to do. You know what I mean? So, alhamdulillah, like, that's what it means to me.
Yeah. Exactly. The same thing for me. I mean, just to piggyback a little bit off of what he said, a lot of the times when we did start off in our marriage, it was really about that. He would always come to me with Quran and Sunnah, and I would, fight certain things because I'm like, okay, well, I'm not there yet. So when I get there, then we can talk about it. But again, there was, for me, it was more of my naps, fighting my naps, which hi, sweetie. My daughter's here. My daddy's here.
Zakia.
Okay. So yeah, basically that's really what it's about. When you're able to, fight your naps and you're able to deal with what the truth is wholeheartedly, everything will fall into place. That's the bottom line. Allah first and foremost, and any relationships that you have and you form after that will fall into place, inshallah. Yeah. So I hope I was able to clear that.
No, definitely. I think we talk about this a lot often because this is the foundation of the work that we do, right, at the Muslim Wholehearted Initiative. I feel like it is trusting, right? Because I think when we submit to Allah, when we say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, we're saying that we trust that Allah knows better what is best for us better than we do. And we submit to that. And going back to Brother Rashawn's point about, listen, if you come to him and you tell me what Allah and His Messenger says, now I have to take that up with Allah. The one that I said that I trusted more than myself, that I believed knew what was best for me. And we could write a book on that. Just how we don't.
Absolutely.
How little. Also, I just want to add.
Yes.
Also, please. I just want to add that, one of my best friends, Seema, shout out to Seema. I have to shout her out because
This is
there's
Yeah.
a phrase that she always, we love Seema. Sound like a Seema?
Oh, yes.
She's watching. She would always say there's something good in everything. And this is the one thing that that was sort of my mantra for a long time, because this is how we're supposed to be also as Muslims, and how we live our lives wholeheartedly. Something good happens to you, we say Alhamdulillah. Something bad happens to you, you say Alhamdulillah. So that we know that whatever happens, we're able to go through it. As long as we have that foundation, we will be able to go through whatever struggles that we have, inshallah.
Indeed.
Mhm.
I don't want the conversation to end. I really don't.
I know.
I
But
hope everybody took notes.
I know this
I-
was
Mhm.
SubhanAllah.
So many gems.
Yes, so many gems. We're not done yet. We do have a couple of questions in the chat. And then inshallah we'll close that. I think it's more comments than questions, guys. I was trying to pull them up and post them on the screen, but I didn't really see too many questions. One sister Asira, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. She said, wow, I hear myself in those words. She's like, I see where I need to adjust. And this is when Brother Rashan was making the point about reflecting on himself and what the things he needed to do to show up as a better husband, and recognizing that his wife is not his enemy, but is his partner. So she had posted that around the time you made that comment. One sister, okay, here's a question. Sister Najma, shout out to Sister Najma. She posted, what suggestions, if any, could you offer regarding managing long distant marriages? And this is for anyone.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm gonna just be honest. With you. I haven't seen any of those work yet personally. You know what I mean? I haven't been in one. The longest I've had in a relationship like that is when I was going back and forth to college. So if you're married, and it all depends on what the distance is as well. Like I have a family member who has a wife that's in Egypt. So and he's here, and it seems to work fine for him. But I haven't been around them to see how they function, to say like, okay, well, this is what I would suggest to do. But every time I've seen something, like, depending on what the distance is, if it's a couple states where you can take a little flight, every 2 weeks, a week, that's a different story. When you're talking about, your husband's in South Africa and you in New York, that might be a bit of an issue. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't really know, so I can't really give advice on that. I would just say, as far as any marriage is concerned, like you said, just communicate everything. And and try to make sure as best as you can that your partner understands that you have needs, that you have needs, and you also have rights. Rights first, and then your needs, and then understand that, look, I understand you got to do business elsewhere, or you may have another wife in this situation, and you go there, but I have my rights, and I need my rights fulfilled. Part of that is not only, like you said, intimacy, but just being around that person and feeling you out. Because we look at how so many people, let's just look at, people we've seen in, like I said, I always go back to sports, right? I'm a sports head. But I look at how many people, they play in the NFL 10, 15 years. And then as soon as they retire, they go home, their wife found out they really don't like them. You know what I mean? They get divorced. Like how many, and it's just like, okay, I see you once every 6 months. I see you once every, and I was in the Navy, so we used to see this often. When the people would come home, when they would come home off leave, everything was fun. It was cool every 2-3 months. And then when the person's home full time, they get a divorce.
Yep.
I would, like I said, I haven't personally seen it work, so I can't really comment on that situation.
And sisters, ladies, any comments on that?
I definitely agree with everything he said. Another comment I was going to make is that, like, what are your needs and what is your situation? So a woman who might be, have a very active career, maybe she has children, maybe she has a lot of family support. That might work for her. She might even seek a situation like that, versus another woman who, she's looking for a more traditional setting. She's really going to feel that. So I think it's like, does this fit into, the other areas of your life? So for this in my honest opinion, for that to the long distance relationship to really work, you have to have other things that you're filling your time with. So you're not like at the phone, and that's going to come across as clingy and needy, maybe anger, things like that. So that's the advice I would give. And it still shouldn't be indefinite. Hopefully it'll be temporary, but yet and still you would need to have other areas to put your time in the meantime. So.
Quincy, I wanted to actually speak to that because you raised a good point about the caveat, right? Like there is a caveat to that. So if you are someone if you're an older sister who is busy in your career and you don't want necessarily a husband, you don't necessarily require your husband be around you 24/7 or even need that, then maybe it'll work for you. However, I think that's the exception and it should never be the rule because Islam we are supposed to be together. Right? Like you can't be my covering, which is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called a husband to a wife and a wife to a husband if you're never around or if you're only coming over 1 week out of the month. This is not how it's supposed to be set up. And some of us agree to it initially, but I think we're not clear on what we need and require.
Yeah.
Right? We may not be clear on what we need and require. And we learn, I need more. I require more. But if we just stick to what Allah has told us, we should be having, we tend to avoid a lot of this. And I'm not saying that this is haram. We're not giving a ruling on this. Please don't misunderstand what we're saying. But is this how marriage is supposed to be set up? Is this the foundation of how an Islamic marriage is supposed to be set up? And I think that if we need to start asking ourselves these questions, what kind of doors are you opening when you are on one side of the planet and your spouse is on another? He's on one side of the country and you're on another. Right? Shaitan is busy and he doesn't care how he separates you. He'll separate you through things you're not doing. Right? Your husband may not be unfaithful. Your wife may not be unfaithful, but you have no way of knowing that for sure. And Shaitan will use that against you.
Yeah.
So you want to close the door to Shaitan as much as you can and not leave a crack for him. Leave a crack for him to come in and kind of destroy what you guys are trying to build. So my personal advice.
I agree. After that, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like because I feel like we tend to, like if we meet someone that is in another state or they're a really good person, if they're such a good person, move to where they are. Go be with your husband. Go be with your wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I take a very hard line on that because I've seen it. I've seen too much. So
yeah.
The next comment is from anybody else wanted to comment on that? I'm sorry. Kalila, Naima.
No, I agree with everything you guys
said. I think you guys summed it up well.
Yeah. So Sister Tawhida, shout out to Sister Tawhida. That's Kalila, Shahid's mom. Sorry, folks.
The original.
SubhanAllah, you are truly partners, mashallah, referring to Sister Nari and Brother Rashan. Alhamdulillah. Shout out to Jamie from Baitul Jama'ah. She said, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Muhammad said different types of support from different people. Absolutely. Sister Jamila said, good answer. I need to be mindful of this. Where can our parents and family support us? Absolutely. Absolutely. Sister Tawhid has mentioned on the contrary, brother, wanting to share what you think is good with others is the opposite of low self-esteem. Absolutely. Don't let anything change that aspect of your character. Absolutely. I think I'm so happy she mentioned that. Absolutely. Alhamdulillah.
Absolutely.
Dr. Aliyah said your brutal honesty is amazing. She was referring to
brutal honesty.
But you know what? Honesty garners trust, right? When someone's being exactly who they are and they show up that way, like you feel it and you relate to it. And I think alhamdulillah, Brother Rashan was very honest today. Alhamdulillah. You know, alhamdulillah, that's the Brooklyn in him. That's the Brooklyn. Sister Nari said, mashallah, as Allah says in Surah Al-Inshirah, with difficulty comes ease. Absolutely. Muhammad Shahid, shout out to Muhammad. He said, if you could go back in time, if you could go back in time with what you know now as a couple, what would you tell yourselves? Oh, that's a good
That's
question.
a good question.
That's a cute question.
Muhammad asked the next question.
I would say to myself, I would say calm down. You know what I mean? Like to myself, like yo, be easy and calm down.
Patience.
To her, don't do it.
So my former self, he said, don't do it. I should have accepted.
Yeah, because it was like I was a handful coming out of a situation. I was dealing with some PTSD issues, you know, and so many other and anger issues, and I had a different sense of, lack of a better term, honor, I guess, like or disrespect. Like every little thing was disrespectful to me, you know, because being in close quarters with people, you know, if somebody said something to you that wasn't, you know, that you thought was disrespectful in a way, and it might not be, but in that particular setting where I was, it's disrespectful. It may be the difference between life and death sometimes, literally. You know, so you know, yeah, I'm not talking figuratively. I'm talking about literally. You might get something put in your back if you said something, that was considered disrespectful, or you move a certain way, or you talk a certain way, or you speak to a group of people that's outside of your circle. It can mean your life. So when you step outside of that and you get with a wife or someone else, and you're trying to combat these things, and you know you have these issues, and I think that's when it comes into play as a man. It's like you have to recognize first that you have these issues and to work on them. But you know, with her, like I said, if it was my daughter marrying or marrying somebody like me at a young age, my former self, like, don't do it. It's too much. So yeah, Muhammad is right. I got it. What would you say?
But I think also, okay, like I remember a quick story I'm gonna say. When we first got married, you know, he was into, you know, he used to be a DJ before that. So
DJ.
well, you know, something like that.
I used to make music.
Right, okay. So anyway, he was in the studio. And it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I think it was like our third year marriage. And I called him up and I was like, you do know it's 1 o'clock, right? You know, I didn't yell, I didn't scream, I didn't do all of that. But I just let him know. I pulled his coattail and said, okay, you know what you need to do. He was home. And then one thing he did tell me is he said, please forgive me. You know, I never been married before. I don't know how to be a husband. So again, how you approach the situation in couples is very, very important. I didn't have to yell and scream, but I got the message across.
She got the story. She got the story a little bit wrong. It was a little bit more intense than that. It was 2 days of me going straight from work to the studio. It was 2 days, and I had seen it like 2.5, almost 3 days. And I was literally because you know I had a contract I thought I had to fulfill. But you know it was a thing where you was going through, where you playing with your own mind. Is music haram or it's not? You know what I mean? So I'm reading books, trying to reach the most extreme Sufi version. Like, is it? Maybe, possibly. You know, but
it brings you closer to Allah.
Right. So when she said that, it was like, well, she's right. You know what I mean? Like, I really haven't seen her in 3 days. You know, so let me get back home and stop. You got to make that decision whether you want to do this or you want to be married. What's more important?
Bayan Shahid, shout out to Bayan. One of our favorite couples, mashallah. Yes. Brother Rashawn and Sister Nairi. Sister Tawhida mentioned, I love the statement about the open book test. I pray Allah helps me remember that. Ameen. Sister Najma, and we'll close with this. We'll jump into the quote of the day with this. She says, I appreciate your responses. Jazakallah khair. Ameen wa jazak. Sister Najma, if you want any additional support on that, if that's for yourself or someone that you know and they need some additional support, please have them reach out, inshallah. Because our answers are always going to be very general. But if you're looking like for something specific, tailor-made to a personal situation, then please feel free to reach out. Inshallah. Okay. All right. Take it away.
Okay, so without further ado, our quote of the day, and I honestly do feel like it's so befitting. So, a good marriage is where each partner secretly suspects they got the better deal. Oh my God. A good marriage is where each partner secretly suspects they got the better deal. And I just love that. And I think when I hear both of you talk, I honestly, that's what you exude. You really exemplify this quote, because both of you just really give your all, your 100% to each other and your marriage and your family. And that is just, you exude that the whole time you've been up here. So
Absolutely. We just want to take a moment to thank everybody for joining us and for tuning in. Sister Nyree, Brother Rashawn, how can people follow the work that you do? First of all, let me shout out Akila's Voices. And I really want to quickly just share a little bit about Akila's Voices, what the work that you do and how people can follow it and support it, inshallah.
So for Akila's Voices, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at akilasvoices.com. Right now, we are going to be heading out our new workshops in, I would say, like around March. We haven't gotten the dates just yet, but we actually did about a 10-week workshop on how we can support families with children of special needs. So that's really what our motivation is now with Akila's Voices, just getting some families active and just having those conversations on what to do and also providing supports for them. So with our next show, we're trying to open up more educators because we really didn't see it, the educational side on how teachers are dealing with children with special needs. So we would like to have more of those type of guests on as well.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you. All right, guys, we have reached the end of the show. Thank you. Hope it wasn't too painful for either you or Brother Rashawn.
We loved it. We thank you so much that you asked us to be on. You are honored. And we love sharing the story. And we're hoping that, newlyweds or, seasoned couples, whoever can benefit from it, inshallah.
Right.
So we were.
That's right. And guys, keep them in your dua, right? Keep them in your dua. Ask Allah to continue to protect and preserve their marriage.
I mean,
and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to protect and preserve you guys' marriage and allow us to benefit from the wealth of knowledge that you guys have imparted on us today. Just want to thank the lovely lady, Sister Naima, Khalila with the glasses, minus her glasses, Zainab, who is too young to wear glasses. Inshallah, until next time, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This is what you strive for, what you sent for. I wanna go where no eyes never seen, no ears never heard, no mind can imagine. Paradise, no more tests, no more tears, no more trials. Paradise, just to hold.